All right, everybody. Happy Tuesday night. I am Mike Barrera. For those of you who don't know, if you follow me on Facebook, you know me as Miguel Reyes. Same guy. I am a Sons of Ben member, and I've kind of just wanted to get some sort of town hall put together for members, non-members alike, to really discuss everything Sons of Ben. We are obviously all passionate fans of the union, but of course, we want to have the supporters group be loud, proud, and something that we can all be involved with from top to bottom, whether you're on the board or whether you're a brand new member there. So just to kind of give you a background on myself, I've been a Union fan since 2012. Uh, I was at the Open Cup losses. I've obviously done media work for AAT Sports over the last few years as well. So for those of you who don't know me or not familiar with me, I'm not just some new guy who's trying to just get attention on Zoom or anything. I've been around for a while. I want what's best for the club. So I hope that you all can see this, comes from a place of passion. I really want what's best for our supporters group and our club. Tonight, Brady Gonsalves is joining me as our co-host. He's going to be helping me out with a lot of the background stuff, obviously posting the topics for anybody who comes in as well. I'll let him introduce himself in 1 second. And also tonight, we're joined by Ryan Bross, who is currently the president of the Sons of Ben, as well as Justin Friedberg, who's running for the same position and who's been a longstanding member of the Sons of Ben. I'm sure you've seen him handing out beer at the tailgates and whatnot. So I'm really excited to hear from them, to hear what they have to say, and really just have a great conversation. Again, the topics are below. We want to stick to that topics. For me, the most important thing, the only quote unquote rule I have is just be respectful. I know we all have a lot of passion behind this, but we don't want to be targeting people. I don't want more drama, is the point of this. I think we need to move past the division that we've had over 2024 and move on with a fresh start in 2025. So, critiques, amazing. Bring it on. We want to hear everything about it. Let's keep it respectful and try not to target anybody individually. Brady, without further ado, let's shoot to you to intro, and then we'll get Justin and Ryan on the mic.
Hey everybody, I'm Brady, Dupadelph on Twitter and Blue Sky. I've been going to union matches since I think 2014, 20, something like that. I was season ticket holder since 2018. My family and I are 137. We're not, we don't have season tickets anymore. I canceled them. I've been a Sons of Ben member, I think, for four seasons now. Um, I have opinions, but I'm typically respectful. Looking forward to this conversation. I really feel like there's an opportunity to air it out and everybody sort of begin to have their voice heard. I ran also for at large I think it was last cycle. Um, so here I am.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you, Brady. First, before we get into the topics more specifically, I'm going to bring Justin and Ryan on. If both of you are listening, if you can both raise your hands, let me know that you're both good to talk. Actually, Ryan, I see you right there. Perfect. Okay. I'm just going to have you ask to unmute right there. Let's see, I think I did that. Ryan, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Awesome, Ryan. So, if you want to kind of give a statement, kind of give people an idea who you are and what you do for those who don't know. And then if anybody has a question for Ryan, please, again, raise your hand on the raise hand feature and we'll unmute you to have the conversation. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. I guess I was in end of 2013. There's a lot of basically the first instance of the board was on its way out, and we had a new era kind of come in, and that was with Kenny, and later Amy joined, and they kind of helped reshape and solidify the Sons of Ben. I was appointed director of TIFO about this time in 2013. Then later, through Kenny's efforts, we all like that whole board worked to bring this process that we're in now, the elections, on a 2-year terms and backfilling positions and stuff like that. That was very early work in the 2014 to 2016 era. We had a lot of even just trouble kind of filling positions on ballots. So even if we tried to run elections, it ended up being a lot of appointing of positions. And then election-wise, we've been on pretty consistent, good footing. I think through efforts of Tim Stosar and later Jess Gussler, and now Kirsten has kind of been the our election manager, say for last year, where I handled it because Kirsten was up for election, so she's not able to do the ballots and stuff like that. And just I know there's some I can answer questions too about our the program that we use, Ballot Box. If anyone wants to know detailed information about that, it's made by like a law firm, developed it for their own voting purposes, so it's very secure. There needs to be a quorum of at least 3 people. The person that initiates and runs the ballot, and then you have 2 other people, a minimum of 2 other people to access it with their board members, access it with their Sons of Ben emails, and that's how the results are released. And those 2 people, all 3 people cannot be running for election. That's should be an obvious rule, but is one that we have. The board members not running for election they all reserve their votes in the case of a tie. So the non-actively running elected board members are the tiebreakers in the situation of a tie. We've never had that. I don't think it's ever really been close to that. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to do quick math in my head to see if there could still even be a tie after the board members, but yeah, I don't know if that what happens after that. But you'll see too if there's a member running unopposed, there's a vote of no confidence, it's called. Mm-hmm. So if the person running unopposed doesn't get a supermajority of the votes, then of the votes, or the supermajority of the casted ballots, not the issued ballots, because we issue something about near probably 1,800 ballots. Unfortunately, we don't get a lot of. It's always been about 30%, I would say, is in terms of response, and that's just been true for years. Whether people, like you said, some people sign up as gifts and they don't they don't get that to get the emails. Mm-hmm. So that's I know there's a lot of questions about elections, but I kind of want to throw that out there because some people might not know how serious we take this. This is not just putting it up on a Facebook poll or something like that, and then so yeah, I just wanted to address that. Sorry. Then why I'm running again, I chose to run for president so basically after Matt stepped down, Jess and I had a conversation. Jess was not interested in running for president. She wanted to retire, so that's why I ran for president that following term, or that following election. And then I decided sometime early this year that I would most likely be rerunning based on the way the team was performing and knowing in the past what that pressure that's put on the Sons of Ben as an organization, in terms of keeping members and just existing. We've had some rough years in the past, and I know just having a ounce of stability can go a long way in supporting and keeping the group supported. There was some people eligible for election or eligible to run for the position of president that I thought would have been capable of the job. They didn't seem interested in running. Talked to some of them, and then so that's when I decided that I would run again. And then knowing that we have not only this kind of stress based off of what the team's performance is, and now we have turnover in the front office, or at least the the coaching staff, and that's always kind of been an issue too in the past. So that the coaching part hasn't been there for a while. Um, and then the fact that we're going to be looked on to help with the Philadelphia's World Cup and through 2026. And I worked with Matt um, as representatives from the local supporters group uh, in helping with the bid process. So I know some of those committee members, and I've worked with them previously.
Great. Thank you, Ryan. If anybody wants a question for Ryan specifically, we can, if you want to raise your hand now, that'd be great. Otherwise, we can kind of transition to Justin as kind of just have you guys speak both at the same time, and then we can always field questions after that. So if nobody has a question at this current moment, I'm going to have Justin unmute his mic. So give it a second. No. All right, Justin, I'm going to have you join as well. Should have given you the option, Justin, if he's still here.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Gotcha, Justin. Thank you, man. How you doing?
Always a lovely day when it gets dark, before you get home.
Absolutely. Yeah, but I'll give you the same time that we gave Ryan. Feel free to explain your role and kind of the president position that you're running for.
So mine won't be nearly as long. My story isn't all that interesting. I've been a fan since the beginning, member since the first year, on and off during college. And in 2016, I became a season ticket holder and a Sons of Ben member. I felt, truly happy because this was my first, post-college adult purchase. I felt I was, a big kid, so to sorts, and got to, get my tickets in the River End, and over, the last, 8 or 9 seasons, I've obviously, made a number of friends and acquaintances in the group. Um, and when the pandemic hit and everything shut down, I of course was joined many of you on the happy hour calls where we spent many late nights talking about whatever and buying random jerseys that we definitely didn't need, and in the last few years, definitely gave away some of those because my closet space was only so big. Um, but right around 2021, I realized and thought that, you know, this group has given so much to me, through friends, through, you know, belonging, that I felt I should and would step up you know, my commitment and my dedication. Um, and I ran for the board. After deciding about it in 2022, I decided to run for the member at large position. And I have served on the board now. This is the end of my second year. Uh, and you know, through meeting a lot of people, obviously, as you've said, handing out, it, some nice adult beverages at the tailgates. I've gotten to know a number of people along the way. And early in the year, I wasn't sure whether I was going to rerun for a position or run for the president position, as I was in my second year and was going to be eligible. Um, and after discussing with, close friends and my girlfriend, I I thought that, with the way that the team performance was going, which, as we all know, when the team isn't performing well, fans, obviously, we are all passionate and we want to see our team do well. A lot of us have seen the rough times, and for those who haven't, it's an adjustment. And, you know, started to see a lot of this infighting and a lot of, you know, name calling and just a lot of discourse that was being sown. And it kind of, made my decision to want to rerun for the board a very simple one. And I, thought, well, I've had a few years as a member at large. I figured it was time to take a big leap, and so I threw my name in the hat for the presidency, and you know, whether or not, I win, I feel that Ryan and I are both people who will steer the Sons of Ben, you know, in a positive way for for this foreseeable future.
Absolutely. I'll let the participants now, if anybody has a question, to use the raise hand feature on your reactions tab, whatever it is on your phone, to kind of put a question for Justin and Ryan. But if you guys don't mind me asking you a question, they kind of just get the ball rolling here. We have a handful of topics to discuss tonight, anywhere from accountability, seat structuring, the disconnect between the board and the members. After 2024, which has again been quite an interesting year from top to bottom, both from the Union team to the Sons of Ben, was there anything that occurred that really stood out to you the most that said, we really need to talk about this. We really need to get these things taken care of. I mean, because you could put 25 topics tonight, some not as important as others. And I would just love to know which one really stood out to you as something that I really want to make sure is taken care of. So Ryan, if you're available, I'm gonna unmute you real quick to maybe field that first, and then Justin, I'll shoot it to you next, just to kind of give a quick answer to that. Now, I think I just asked you to unmute Ryan. Yep, there you go. Perfect. You're good.
Sorry, what was the tail end of that? I got a question from someone else about
No,
something.
it's okay. No worries. Basically, out of all the topics that we have tonight, from membership disconnect or any other problem you saw in 2024, what do you think is the biggest issue that the Sons of Ben themselves can address entering 2025 to maybe ease tensions a bit between members and the board?
I know I think I might have mentioned this in my some of these were Justin and I probably answered in our election questionnaires. So if anyone hasn't read those would be probably a very good read before casting your ballot, or just read them if you already casted your ballot. But I think it's like the communication between the board and the general membership. I think is very important. I mean, that's I think always been a strain throughout the entire time I've been on the board. I've seen it. I found the old emails earlier this year about Kenny and Amy saying like, "Oh, there's a call for a Q&A. Let's host it at a tailgate." And one person showed up, and it was about Union's ticket prices or food it costs in the stadium. So I think there's sometimes is it how much energy can the board spend? Where we're always, I think every member of the board this year or the past couple of years have been available at the tailgates before and after games. I know I talk to people through much of the games sometimes because they see me at the game, so they grab me, or they'll come and talk to me while I'm painting or working. I know, like I've seen people come up to like Rachel and John at the merch table, and we'll talk to them about their ideas. So I think we could just always we could probably do better as a board, just making it say like, hey, any union event that we're at, you could talk to us about any concerns you have. I think like I've said it on my own, or like I know people say, hey, can I talk to you about this when you get the chance? I was like, if you don't mind like talking to me while I'm trying to set up TIFO or painting, then or if you want to grab a paintbrush and jump in too, that's always, it's more than welcome to discuss your concerns or your questions or ideas. It doesn't have to be something, it can be negative. Hey, I think maybe we could try this. Just come up to any board member, any of them, and they know if it's not their area, they'll direct you to the person that can cover that.
Awesome.
The other thing I see, the seating and restructuring in the river end. There's some, like we've been working, like that's an area that we're trying to tackle with the front office this off season. We did have a call. We now have the beginnings of a monthly call set up with some members of the front office, and that's going to be consistent every month. We're replacing one of our weekly meetings with a Zoom call with members of the front office and members of the and ownership, and one of the owners. And we're one of the main things is we're getting a concise like mission statement of what we want to see done in the river end, like facility wise. And that like the facility one is like I think our main attacking points. We could put that down, set some goals this off season, and finish them by the beginning of next season.
Awesome. And I think visibility for one will help with the communication side of things like you discussed. And I know from just talking to Justin, and Justin, I'll give you the chance to answer the same question. Evie, I see your hand raised. I'll get to you in a second as well. There's only so much that we can do as Sons of Ben members. It's not the Sons of Ben's section, it's the supporter section. So there's certain things that we as members cannot. There's union have to eventually help us out there a bit with whether it be general mission, safe standing, whatever it might be. And also the fact that people have season tickets there. Do they want to give up their seats? So there's so many things that go with it. I think it's a great, I didn't know about the monthly call. I think that's a great first step to at least get the ball rolling. So Justin, I'm going to shoot to you as well next. Same question. What's the main topic? What's the main issue you want to kind of rectify or clarify entering 2025? And I'm going to have you on mute now. There you go.
I mean, I agree with Ryan's thing about visibility. I know people, I'm there, on game days, I'm there 1:30, 2 o'clock, and I'm there until, I usually get home after at least midnight. So I always say people I'm always around. But I think the big thing is the accountability, being a two-way street.
Mhm.
Um, I think over the years, I think there's been a growing divide, at least a perceived divide between members and the board. Through no one's fault. Just think as the group's kind of evolved and people have come in and out, I think it's become kind of like a divide that people think that the board is unapproachable or, kind of on this pedestal. And there's, especially online, there seems to be a combative nature, um,
Mhm.
that, any criticisms, whether valid or not, um, are seen as a slight on the group or on board members specifically. And so there's a lot of animosity and tension that seems to build and build, and sometimes it typically stays online, but there have been, some instances in person. And I think holding ourselves accountable, not just as members, but also as board members, I think I've said that board members, like, we obviously all have opinions, we all are fans, we all are passionate, but when you step onto the board, you assume a higher responsibility for yourself, for the group at large. And I think when it comes to that, people, obviously, we're volunteers. We do this because we're passionate about the team and about the community at large. Um, I think sometimes that does get lost, but that also doesn't excuse any lack of accountability
Mhm.
or or responsibility. And I think there's always time for a reasonable discourse, again, whether that be in person or online. And I've always told people that, same thing as Ryan said, that if I can't answer your question, or the board specific board member can't answer your question, we'll try to find the person that can, and we want to give you an answer. And besides accountability, I think also that growing transparency,
Mhm.
because obviously, yes, there are things that are we not allowed to say for various reasons. Yes, there, that's just how things work. But there are a number of things that I think, at the very minimum, we can just provide an update. Whether it be hey, we'll get back to you on that. We're working on that, or we'll have at least a prior update. So accountability, visibility, and transparency for me are the big things that I think you know can help to repair and allow the relationship between the board and its members as a whole, but also the fan base as a whole, and allow that because the team's in a little bit of a rebuild, and I think to an extent the Sons of Ben are going through a slight rebuild, and I think there's only really room to grow, and I think that's a big step for the group as a whole.
I mean, there's a lot of things that I'll touch upon as this town hall continues. Again, thank you everybody for joining us. When the Sons of Ben were created and when the union were created, those members, those people may not be here today still in terms of active members involved with the club and involved with the supporters group. And it's very much like a passing of the torch over the years. Okay, who's the young generation or the new generation is going to help continue this tradition we've had as the supporters club that started the team. So I think I think you're right. I think there is a rebuild. I think there's a changing of the guard in a way between the old and the new. And I think it's really important that we have these kinds of conversations and we touch upon perception, visibility, all that kind of stuff, accountability. I think that's all really important. So again, we have a few topics to discuss. Evie, I know you've had your hand raised patiently, so I'm going to unmute your mic first. And again, anybody who wants to use the raise hand feature, please feel free to join in. So Evie, floor is yours.
Did you just call me patient?
I know it's surprising, isn't
Might be the first man in my life to ever call me that.
Do I get a
Um,
prize or anything?
yes. First of all, I just wanted to thank you, Mike, for putting this together and for everybody who was able to make it tonight. Um, I'd also like to say, from a personal viewpoint, I am far from perfect. I know that I can run my mouth and say stupid shit, especially when I'm emotional. So, for all those times in the past and all those times in the future that will no doubt happen, I do apologize. That being said, I did like a lot of what Justin was saying, and I think what he's saying rings a lot true. Um, I've been a season ticket holder since minute one. I've been playing soccer since for longer than most of you have been alive. You know, I have coaching licenses, I have referee licenses. I'm the elected tax collector of this town. I understand it's tough to be the person in charge, especially at least you guys, at least I'm getting paid for what I do. You guys are doing this on a volunteer basis. And I can't imagine the bullshit that you have to put up with for free. I, you know, so for that, again, and for any part I've played in that, I do apologize. But there definitely is a divide. And let's be real, I don't think it helped. And maybe some of the attitude, at least for myself, is from when our former board president decided to disparage some of us on a podcast. That didn't really leave a very good taste in the mouth. So, that was an issue, but that was just more of a symptom of a more, I think, prevalent break, so to speak, or gap, as Justin said, between a growing gap between some in the membership and some on the board. Um, we have a lot to offer, those of us who are on Twitter. Maybe we don't hang out on the Discord, don't have time for that. Maybe we don't get to come to all the tailgates. And, I've been told more than once, well, if you have an opinion, why don't you just run for the board if you don't like it? Well, I'm sorry. I don't like what's going on in our country either, but I just can't run for president. Doesn't mean I don't have an opinion. Doesn't mean my opinions aren't valid. Same for anybody else on this call. Whether you agree with me or not, your opinions are still valid. So that's also, difficulty when even mild criticisms, though I know I haven't always been mild, have been, met with pushback instead of actually addressing the issue. So again, and it's definitely no disrespect to Ryan, who has done an amazing job given the situation and what he stepped into. Also, as someone with the creativity of a rock, I have mad respect for your TIFO. I think it's some of the best in the league.
Mhm.
Anyone that's better, it's usually those stupid people that copy shit and print it off. Whoever they are, we know who they are. Um, so let's see, what are my little notes for? Uh, so anyway, because unfortunately, I can't stay too long, but I'm going to try. The couple of suggestions I had to try to close that gap that Justin was talking about. Some of the positions, like membership, I'm sure, are extremely busy. And it may be too much for one person. And I don't mean anything against the person currently in that position. I just mean in general. There may be certain slots that require more than one person simply for just the large size of membership. Um, that's just a suggestion. Second thing is, and I don't know, and forgive me, Ryan, if this is what you were talking about with the calls, but although, yes, we can all definitely come up to board members. It is a little weird and awkward for some of us, in the middle of a large tailgate to do that. Is there any idea of maybe having like and I don't mean to like make your busy schedule even busier, but a semi-regular meeting of some kind, whether just by Zoom, where who the people that do care or the people with the big mouths like me can have a few minutes to offer some input to be considered or not. That just might be something to do once every couple months or something. Just a little check-in with the membership, um, just to see if for input in that way. Um, the only other suggestion I had was maybe during the tailgates, if there was time, just because I know myself, I'm not very good with knowing all the chants. Um, I don't sit in the sun, I don't stand in the Sons of Ben because my son has special needs and it would just be too much. So I'm on my own end. But I would like, it'd be nice if we could like practice the chants or something during the tailgates or at some point when we're all together. Might also add to the camaraderie of doing that and encourage more people to do it during the games because I noticed that has sort of fallen off
Mhm.
in terms of participation at games, which is sad because it used to be like a really, really stunning thing to see. So anyway, I think that's enough of me at this point. I do appreciate very much again what everybody has to do. I know it's a thankless job and it doesn't help when I'm in a mood. But I do appreciate your time and everything that you do. So with that, I will shut my mouth and listen now. Thank you.
Thanks, Evie. I appreciate it. Ryan, I see your hand up. I'll let you answer and take it from here. Go ahead.
So yeah, I just wanted to thank you for all the suggestions. I do like the meeting aspects and kind of to talk about what Justin to tie in with what Justin was saying, where it could have been a slow disconnect. I know the board has experienced that with the front office,
Mhm.
where we held, I think we used to call them like the board to board, where we would meet with, like it was, I mean, when I started, it was Nick Sack and then McDermott and Doug Vasquez, all these different people. We would meet like board to like the Sons of Ben board would meet with the front office, usually preseason, maybe in the middle. It would happen like maybe once a year. I think during like 2020, it really obviously didn't happen. And then there was board members, myself included, that we were so it became more of a little bit more of an informal working relationship with members of the front office, like where if I needed something from Mark Evans, I would just text him. I know Matt and Richard had a straight line of communication where if the board needed anything, we would just reach out directly. So there's some fall off in that. This past off season, I believe in January, I set up a meeting with our the union's game day staff. So like the game day ops at the time was Brendan Pruitt, was leading that. There was a lot of members, even down to the people that run the sound systems in the stadium, to talk with our capos and drummers to kind of get an understanding of what can we do to increase atmosphere. So we've been slowly building up that direct line of communication between board members and their counterparts in the front office. But if we have a strong need and want to have, even if it's something a little bit more informal, like something like this, where it's more of an open forum rather than a formal sit down and Q&A. That could go a huge way. And I would think that if there's a want for that from our membership, then that is something that I think Justin or I, whoever or anyone moving forward, would be welcome to see that through. And that could be something that we could ask like a membership director. I know when Tim was on the board, he had more of the role of PR. And we do have some, but I wanted to see some more roles filled out this year in terms of not just directors, but this director does this job at the same time. Like if the membership director wanted to be not just in charge of membership drives, but I've talked to Rachel about it. She wants to be more the voice of the membership to the board. It's kind of one of her big of making the position her own and helping develop that kind of relationship.
I definitely want to talk about the disconnect between the front office and the Sons of Ben, because I think that's a very interesting topic that I wouldn't say is being overlooked, but definitely it's beginning to concern me as a fan of the club. Brady, I'm also going to shoot to you in a second. I see your hands up, but one question I have for you, Ryan, real quick. Robert just mentioned in the chat, there is a QR code shown on the screen that leads you to our songbook, and he mentioned have folks noticed that. I personally have not noticed it because either I'm not at the games enough, which I guess is my fault, but maybe this kind of goes back to the disconnect between the front office and the Sons of Ben. It'd be kind of helpful for people who aren't looking at the screen, say, hey, Sons of Ben, Union fans, there's a Sons of Ben QR code on the screen right now. You guys can use to join in on the chats. I feel like, I guess my question for you is, how often is that on the screen? Has that been consistent as well throughout the season?
Yeah, so the screen thing is new. With their new screen, they're actually pulling dedicated ad space. So it's only up for a certain amount of time, and it is on the schedule. Like Rob said, they do try to get it around 4-leaf clover. We've tried this throughout the years. We've printed songbooks. We've taped them on, I think they're taped around our state, or our tailgate area. But I mean, we could always do more of that. We could do more of the songbooks. It has been a few years since then. Again, those are our tried and true chants, though, and I think a lot of people obviously get tired of those. But you need to learn the word. You need to learn the words if you want a new chant. So obviously, that goes hand in hand. Yeah, the screen time, I think they just put it up and say, like, join in, and it's just something as simple as just any of those in-game advertisements. So I think a lot of it glossed over. We could maybe do like an awareness post if we're moving forward with something like that. And then that is something that came out of that meeting with the front office that we had over the winter of, hey, we'll surrender this ad space. At one point, in 2018, they surrendered like the ad space on the running boards to actually run the words of 4-leaf clover. And then they also did that in 2012 because everyone didn't understand what "come on to you" was. They thought they were saying other words. Yeah, so that was, I think, actually a sponsor paid to put the words up, which was kind of hilarious going back to that. But
so I guess I know when I talked to Jeremy last week on my show, he mentioned the zero landfill aspect of the stadium. Does that have anything to do with the fact that there's not paper pamphlets now?
I don't think so, because the zero landfill would be paper would be collected and donated. When we did our the card stunt for the playoffs a few years ago.
Yep.
That was all collected and then sent directly to TerraCycle, I believe. We'd have to do it correct. But the pamphlet is also not a single use item, so that I don't think that would. Though I'm assuming a lot of them will get left behind. It's not seen as a single use item, so it doesn't really fall into what the stadium needs to clean up and consider in terms of generating trash.
Gotcha.
And the fact that it is paper, I mean, we could turn around and ask Subaru that, hey, you guys want to print this on recycled paper for us?
Right.
And then we offset the cost, which is, I think, that another great partnership we have with the front office is that we can kind of sneak in and use their sponsors to our benefit.
Absolutely.
So yeah, like we could talk to TerraCycle, to Subaru to kind of get some stuff done. And that's just, it's always kind of been there, but it does help with executing certain plans.
Absolutely. Brady, I know you had raised your hand there. Do you want to chime in here?
Yeah. So I like the idea of a monthly call or whatever. But I wanted to sort of give an example of the disconnect that me personally that I'm feeling. And during, I guess it was during Leagues Cup, right around the town hall for the union. I asked the question about maybe it would be good for the Sons of Men to do a town hall. And I was told in a response, yeah, we're figuring it out. We just don't want to conflict with the union's date. So we're trying to sort that first, and I get that, whatever. Unions came and gone. Afterwards, I felt a little energized, at least to have our voice heard. And so I simply made the comment, hey, Sons of Ben, be great to have one. I think at that point I got another response that said, yeah, we're working on it. 5 times later, I tagged the Sons of Ben to 0 response. Now, whatever, is what it is. Maybe I have the Evie disease where people are annoyed by me, and that's perfectly reasonable. I get it. But it's strange to me that there are now, what, 6, maybe at least 6 board members here. This is all we're looking for. And no response, no effort, no to put it together. And I know everybody's busy. I get it. But I was told specifically, yeah, we're working on it. We just don't want to mess around with the union's time. And then 0, nothing, absolutely no response, almost as if it was personal. I don't care, but it was weird. And that's sort of the disconnect I've felt personally. And I've heard from other people that the members bring, now maybe Twitter is not the place to do it. Maybe, to Rob's point, an email to info@ would have been better. Okay, my bad. But I guess that's sort of the sense of disconnect that I'm looking to improve, hopefully to see improve. This forum, everybody just wants to have their voice heard, and the recommendations, what works, what doesn't, right? And as the board, that's sort of what you're there for, right? And I appreciate the stuff you do, but also at the same time, there doesn't seem to be any interest, which might be the wrong word, and I'm sorry if people take offense to that. Doesn't seem to be any interest in doing the things that members want that maybe the board isn't interested in, right? That's really all I wanted to shed some light on what I feel is the disconnect.
So I'm going to bring up real quick Robert's comment before I continue with the next set of topics here. He mentions the membership coin. It leads to the chance that we have there. So I was not aware of that until now. I see that there. I also think this kind of goes back to what Justin and Ryan have kind of mentioned about accountability from a two-way street. If I remember correctly, I mean, from speaking with Jeremy last week, and again, if anybody has the exact numbers, please correct me if I'm wrong, but how many members have not picked up their membership packets? How many people are just not actually, they're just paying the $35 a year so they can get into the tailgate, but they're not actually getting the things that they've purchased? And to Robert's point, yeah, maybe I have a coin, it's in my car. A lot of people might, but a lot of people just have them left in the garage still. So again, that goes back to the accountability side of things. if the people want to chime in now, raise their hand, please do on the feature to kind of add to this conversation. But for me personally, and Rob, I see you perfect. I'll shoot to you in a second. Brady, I think you make up a great point with the perception. The fact that being on Twitter behind keyboards doesn't always help. And again, this is what I've wanted. I mean, the tension that's obvious amongst everybody in a losing season, especially, I think it's magnified. And I think that's why we're doing this today. They kind of get that just a clean slate. That's really what we're looking for tonight. So, Robert, I see your hand up, so I want to go to you right away to let you kind of take it from here. All right, you should be good to go.
Yeah, hi folks. For those who don't know who I am, I'm Rob Migliaccio. I'm the philanthropy director. Um, just with everything, I appreciate you guys pulling this together. It is needed. Just with like just some of the comments I was just making on the chat. Game day is very hectic. For an average fan that comes to Subaru Park, they're coming in, they're having a good time, they're eating, they're drinking, they're going in, cheering on, and they're coming out. It's tenfold for the board members because we are running around working our asses off for it. So with I can understand with like you said, with you, Mike and Evie and Brady, where there can be a disconnect. I understand that, and I respect that. I have been victim, and I will admit that, yeah, people do come up to me, and say, hey, we have this idea, we want to do this, blah, blah, blah. 9 times out of 10, I'm pointing them towards info@sonsofben.com to email us to let us know. 9 times out of 10, they're not sending anything in.
Mm-hmm.
And which I understand. It's game day. You're busy. You might forget. We all forget different things like that. But I think utilizing rather than just putting it out on Twitter and Facebook and Reddit and the Discord, the board as a whole will not see that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The board as a whole will see any information that comes into info@sonsofben.com. It's constantly checked. It's shared out amongst the board, so we can see what's being brought in. So that is like your best. You want to get your word out in the most respectful way. That is your best course of action. As Ryan and Justin said, yeah, the board, we are happy to talk to you. I know I love talking with everybody at the tailgates, the watch parties inside. Inside's like it's a whole different animal inside because we're constantly running around. Majority of the board, we like to help out with the game day experience inside with TIFO, the chants and different things like that, and just making sure everything's running smooth.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, we run around a lot on game day. I can say for myself, I would respectfully ask that people, if there's an issue, comment, question, concern, suggestion, you just want to say hi to the board, email info@sonsofben.com.
Rob, I have a quick question for you. I think, see, for me, when I go to these tailgates, I don't know if it's posted up anywhere, but if it's not, would it be possible for you guys to maybe have some sort of board or some sort of stand saying, hey, questions, something big in lettering, info@sonsofben.com? Because I think at least that gives people that visual there. Because listen, I mean, I've been to plenty of tailgates where I've had a couple beers, right? I come up to you and ask you where do I go, and I'm forgetting that you said info@sonsofben.com. So maybe kind of that just over and over and over that visual. Oh yeah, I forgot to email them. Yeah, go ahead.
No, please finish.
No, just say, is that something that we could possibly do, or even as Rachel mentioned, put in the kit,
And that's a great suggestion. I think that's something that we can, along with everything else discussed tonight, can be brought over to the rest of the board for suggestion and bring it up. We can definitely. I think it should be easy enough to have QR codes around the tailgate space and whatnot, have laminated signs maybe, or even with the coin, if we want to utilize the coin more, have it. You scan it directly on there and put something on the membership page and say, if you have any questions or concerns, please fill out this form or something along the lines of that. Let me ask to the general masses here, what do you guys ultimately think? I mean, I'm looking at the chat as well.
Mhm.
I mean, even if we, like I said, if we start putting up signs around, here's the thing: if we put up signs around the lot and
Mhm.
inside the building, will people actually read them and see what
Sure.
exactly it is? See, that's the thing. It's just, and you guys hit it on the head, Barry. You hit it on the head, but it's a two-way street here.
Mhm.
If we put this, as the board put out these QR codes and put them out, we are expecting the members, you guys, to go ahead and utilize that. If you don't utilize it, then we don't have this relationship. So, and yeah, and Heavy, you're right. You never know until you try it. So I think taking this back over to the board, I think we can discuss it and potentially add it to a plan. It doesn't cost us any money, to add that on to the plan for next year. So if it helps out the relationship, hell yeah, let's go ahead.
All right, good. Appreciate that. I'll write that down, and again, we'll discuss other topics as well. I'm gonna Jeremy. I promised him I'd let him on next, and then Valerie and Ryan I see as well. So Jeremy, let me just bring up your name. All right, you should be good to go to speak. His mic is still unmuted. If you don't see it, Jeremy, I'm gonna shoot to Val in a second. Oh, there you go. You're
I
good
got
now.
it.
Yep.
Okay, I'm good. Yep.
Awesome.
Okay, hi. My name's Jeremy Shervin. I'm running for merch, but that has nothing to do with what I'm going to talk about. So what I just wanted to share a little bit with the board was probably, as probably one of the newest faces here, especially running. So I've been a soccer fan my whole life, right? Like I kind of did this briefly in the deal I did with Mike before. But also been a Union fan pretty much since day one, but non-participative, kind of quiet, right? Passive Union fan, if you will. Uh, Grumbling, resentful of Red Bull, passive Union fan. Uh, so that aside, as when I decided to kind of join and step up and time allowed and be participative and meet everybody, um, signing up was straightforward, right? Signing up to volunteer, following that process was pretty straightforward. But I think once I started to really participate with people, the warm sense of community that we're all talking about, right, doesn't come easy. Um, I found in my experience to a lot of like what Justin was talking about, right? Um, the first time I volunteered, it was pretty much, hey, there's the table, there's the wristband, you just do the thing. Didn't know who anybody was, weren't a whole lot of introductions, and even though people are friendly now, right? There's definitely, if you're a new face wandering around that tailgate, and to Rob's point, right? I understand everybody's super, super busy during a tailgate, right? But if you're a new face, you're looking to participate, or you're a new face wandering around and you look lost, there is not a huge sense of a lot of board members, not all board members, right? But there's not a huge sense of warmth there, right? There's no one saying, "Hey, I've never seen you before. Welcome. What's your story? I'm a board member. This is where things are," right? It sounds petty, right? But if you're trying to get membership, you're about community, you're about growing the sport, you're about growing the base. As a board member at Tailgate, I mean, if you were to work at Disney, you're on stage effectively during a tailgate, right? That's your theme park. That's where your Cinderella costume needs to be on and you need to smile and you need to, right? This is what we're here for. And we're at the match, right? That's showtime for the board as much as it is for the players. And I think the board as a whole, right? I think it's worth something talking about at board meetings is making an effort to be more proactive to recognizing who you don't recognize and reaching out and not just membership, right? Everybody. If you're a board member and you're around somebody you don't recognize, say hi, introduce yourself, ask them about themselves, ask them why they're here, ask them what they think of what's going on, right? I think fostering that openness and that warmth can really change the vibe and change the tone of what we're talking about, right? Because I was even torn on should I participate, right? Because like I kind of overthink it, right? Is it that they don't like me? Is it like when you walk in, if board member to board member, and of course friends all know each other, right? Everybody says hi. As an outsider, you can walk straight through there while everybody's saying hi, and no one says anything to you
Mhm.
as an outsider, right? It gives this, it builds that wall that we're talking about right from the ground of somebody getting engaged to the point, like I said, I knew I was going to force engagement. It's in my personality, as I'm sure you're all somewhat aware now, right? That I'm going to force that. But it shouldn't be on me to force that when I'm trying to engage.
Absolutely. Now,
That's it.
to kind of touch on that, thanks, Jeremy. I really appreciate that. Evie mentions like, what if you guys had a band for new members or board members to kind of just have everybody stand out? I think that's more difficult in the colder temperatures when everybody's bundled up, but definitely something that maybe would help have that stand
And
out. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
to that point, I was thinking like in tying it to merch, right? Is maybe board members should have a hoodie or a band or something. You could take a stylized QR code, throw it on the back of a hoodie, 2x2. Questions, comments, scan the back of my shirt, right? You can integrate the snake, you can integrate the Jolly Roger into the QR code, just something that says, right? And when you're walking through, maybe you have someone who doesn't want to be approached, but when you walk by them, they can scan your shirt on the way by and get to the information that they're trying to get to and whatever else they need to do.
One last thing, and I'm gonna shoot to Val in a second. I think this also goes back to what somebody mentioned earlier. You know, can these positions be done by two people rather than just one? Because as Rob mentioned, hey, listen, you're at these tailgates, we're all hectic, we're all busy as hell. We may not have chance to sit down and talk because we got to handle this. Maybe there is a need for a couple more people who are almost like, I wouldn't want to say like Walmart greeter-esque or waiter-esque, but like checking up on tables. Like, hey, never seen before. How are your drinks? Are your drinks good? You know, my name's this. How have you been? That kind of stuff. It's just having that face-to-face interaction, having somebody, you know, again, if you're a restaurant person like me, touching tables in a way to really get that interaction. It does go a long way. So maybe it's something that one person does every single time. Maybe a volunteer does it. Again, maybe there's two people per position to help with that because it's also not fair to all you guys on the board who are trying hard to handle all that when there's other things that are more important going on. To put it like, you know, put it frankly. Val, I'm gonna shoot to you now. I'm gonna take you off mute. You should be good to go now, Val. There you go.
Okay. Um, by way of introduction, I am have been attending union games since my first one in 2012, and since I live 3.5 hours away from Chester, I there for a good number of years. I only got to one, maybe two games a year, and it was the Red Bull playoff game when we came from behind and won in 2019 that got me and my sons to thinking we want to be season ticket holders. So, of course, that was 2019. So we signed up for 2020. Oops. And so since 2021, we have been season ticket holders and obviously attending regularly. So it was probably in 2021 that we were parked in Lot C and were walking in and saw off to our right a bunch of people and banners and said Sons of Ben, and we all wondered, whoa, that looks like fun. What is that? And kept walking into the game. And so that brings me to communication and this disconnect I keep hearing about. Maybe it's because I'm a researcher. I do that for a living. I had this question, what is that Sons of Ben? I looked it up online. I found a website and it has chants and it has how to be a member and it has what's in a membership kit and all email addresses, all those things for you to communicate and learn.
Mhm.
So it's you talk about QR codes. I mean, don't people think of when you have a question, you don't need a QR code. You just look it up And I'm old and I did not grow up with the internet. So I'm having trouble sympathizing with this so-called disconnect. It's a two-way street, and I understand you can try to make a connection and maybe not get the answer you wanted. But so my other point is, um, since I've been a Sons of Ben member, um, the very first time I went to a Sons of Ben tailgate, I was there with my sons. I tried to look friendly, and no one at all said hello to me. But that didn't bother me. I didn't say, "Oh, I'm not going to be a member." And then after going a couple more times, I remember Rachel and John being the first who were really friendly, and Jeff Mitchell. And one thing led to another. And now I'm friends with a zillion people, and and I volunteer, which is also another great way to make it work. So I go to the tailgates and I have a great time. I go to the games and I have a great time, even if we lose. So maybe I'm Pollyanna or ignorant, blissful ignorant, but I don't have any complaints with the Sons of Ben. I have no complaints about the board. Everybody to me is doing a great job. And what bothers me the most is, and I'm not on Twitter, I got off of that as soon as Elon Musk bought it. So, but I am still on Facebook and Instagram. I got off TikTok. I was only there briefly. And on Mastodon, and some union folks are there. And so the thing that bothers me the most this past season, no, I'm not happy that had a losing season, but truly the thing that bothers me the most is the bitching and moaning of so many people who seem to want instant gratification for their complaints, or they get off on complaining, or get off on the drama. And so again, I have no complaints, and some of the suggestions, though, that have been made today, I think are really good. But people just need to put. I'm not saying the board. I'm saying just folks in general need to put forth an effort on their own part to make it better for themselves.
I think it's so much to unpack there, Val. I appreciate it. Thank you. I think it's also very difficult because we are the fifth team in a massive sports city where you may not always have people who want to dive deeper into the Sons of Ben or the Union. They're just there because their friend bought them a cheap ticket to a game and they're there, or they're there for their kids' soccer club, whatever it might be. I think that sometimes has to go into it. And I think this also touches back on the front office's disconnect between the Sons of Ben and them. For me personally, I mean, I've been to Union Yards. I've enjoyed the drinks there, but I feel like that was one of the biggest things for me as a Sons of Ben member, that I felt like, do they not give a shit about us? Like, why not allow the Sons of Ben to run their tailgate out of the Union Yards? Why not be the umbrella for them? Say, hey, listen, you've been on a crappy gravel lot for the last few years. Come in here. It's renovated. It's got a bar, etc. I feel like that was one thing for me in particular that was just like, there's that was a bigger disconnect for me personally than Sons of Ben and the members. This year in particular, I kind of agree with Brady a bit, but I also agree with you, Val. I think we have to hold accountability. If we want to get into something, research it. To Robert's point, it's on the QR codes on the coin. It's all online. Info at sonsofben.com. It's all available if you do the research. It's just a matter of whether people do it or not. But again, I don't want to get too much. Ryan, I know you've been having your hand up for a while, so I'm gonna let you unmute and then take it from there. Go ahead.
All right, so I have a lot of points to kind of run through on that. Brady, specifically about that, the initial like delay in any kind of town hall following is when the union announced theirs. We were trying to line it up post that and see what they would do, and we did like how they answered, if they changed their tune from our meeting or if they said anything different in that meeting. And then looking at the date they picked, it was possible that that was going to be a Leagues Cup game. And so we were like, in typical union fashion, they're probably going to have to change their event in scheduling. So we were trying to delay off of that. And then we were waiting through the end of and I kept trying to get us to, I didn't want to go into it unprepared. I didn't want to, if we wanted a true Q&A town hall style, I wanted even better than the unions where it was, here's directed questions and we answer them. I was trying to set up something that made it more, it was probably just over planning. I had contacted some different media people with different podcast resources where we were going to field questions and then have them be interview style. So it was going to be a very formal, you have your answer kind of thing. And it's just been kind of trying to find a different source over and over again. We saw that Mike was putting this together, and then I kind of let it sit back to see if why this is going to if this maybe is a better format than something too structured. And so far I think this has been a great format. But if we do that other structured kind of thing, then if we want more of that, we can not easily, but we can put that together. So that delay in the traveling was just trying to tell the rest of the board or the person, whoever's handling that social media channel, to let's not promise anything that we are planning it, but we don't have anything solid yet. And just let's, because I'm what's could happen with the union plan and schedule, and then they change it. And I from past experience, from Sons of Ben and from other groups I've worked with, that just leads to more and more frustration. To that, where Rob's been saying, info at. I mean, I tell every sponsor, partner, whoever, if you want to make sure you get my attention, if you tag info at, it hits my email, Kirsten's email, I think John's email, because it's connected with the shop. It hits 3 or 4 people's emails at info at, and then Kirsten will essentially bug the shit out of you to answer the person, which is, so if I know I need to answer someone, I tell them to reach out to Kirsten too, especially at the info at, so I see it and then she reminds me. I've gotten emails and it popped up as an email notification for me for info at. A minute later, I get a message from Kirsten asking her asking me to answer the person. I'm going to put it in the chat. We did have, so info at, there's a contact form, so you don't even have to remember info at, which is, we didn't always have info at. We had different contact forms throughout the website, and they were tagged to the director's email. So if you sent a chant or TIFO recommendation, it went to the TIFO director's email. If you did tailgates, it would have went to the tailgate director's email. I think one of the first things I did, I might have done it at the end of 2022 actually, is let's create a shared email folder, info at. Now it's the place where that main source of contact lives is on the revamped FAQs page. I just posted it in the chat. So there's no more just contact page with a bunch of form letters. If you scroll down to that FAQs page at the bottom, there's a form there. And then you could, if you fill that out, it goes to info at, and then Kirsten and I guess Donnie is also probably copied on those. they sort those emails out to the correct directors, or just answer themselves if it's something simple. So that's and if anyone has any suggestions for that FAQ page, if they've always had like a burning question and they want it answered, or it took them a while to answer it, we're just reworking that page. That's one of the first website redevelopments that we've kind of undertaken, and Rachel did hers, the membership, because that's, I think, what is Sons of Ben membership? Why should I pay? Why do I do this? So that's there now. Rachel's completed that. And then I believe there's one that links directly to a page that is just all about travel, which Mike took care of. So we're getting more of that situated, but again, that's like a contact point. And then depending on like just like direct message, social media is, I know, kind of tough. Like if you don't follow, like just stuff gets buried. So I'm like, it's hard sometimes. Like I went to message Mike today, realized I wasn't even following Mike. I don't know how, but then and in doing that and scrolling, because I messaged you around this time last year, I think, where we were talking, which is like, so when I did that, I found 3 or 4 messages from people that I also like, we will follow, but I don't know why I never got a notification or why the little thing is on. And then trying to remember all the different things. I was trying to write that. We did shirts in the beginning of the year. I think board members were bright blue. General volunteers were bright yellow. It was I think it was like our thank you present to the volunteers too. So if you're a new volunteer this year, you probably weren't you had to be a minimum of 10 times to get different thank you levels. So we do like it's not a strict rewards program, but that's usually how we do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you volunteer but don't actually like sign up to volunteer with the Sign Up Genius that Kelsey puts out, she doesn't have your contact information, so you end up getting left off that list when we try to contact people, which has helped in the past. It's like people like, I volunteer every game. It's like we scroll through. It's like, yeah, but you don't sign up for Sign Up Genius, so we miss out on that, on contacting you for events. I was trying to think of.
Well, I have a question while you're thinking about that, Ryan, if you don't mind. First, it's a 2-part question. First, how often do you guys meet as a board throughout the season, for off season and regular season?
Every Monday night.
Okay.
We have a Slack meetings in Slack, and then I don't think it was actually purely in the bylaws, but it was a point that we've tried to meet once in person.
Mm-hmm.
This year we kind of used the pre-help kick hunger to do that, but we do it, and it's just the schedule is so congested this year. It's hard to find a weekend where we're not doing a union event to plan that. And now with this the call with the front office, we are giving up one of those weekly meetings once per month to speak directly to the front office, to have that kind of meeting.
Okay, the reason why I asked is the reason why I asked is I think from what I'm gathering from both the comments and what people are saying, they want this sort of involvement with the board to feel more like there's not so much of a disconnect, like we can't get a hold of you guys. Would it be possible, maybe, I wouldn't say every Monday, I think that's too much for you guys since you have your busy schedules. Would it be possible maybe once a month say, hey, we're going to have a board meeting on one Monday of the month. We're going to put on Twitter or Facebook or whatever a questionnaire. Sons of Ben members, what would you like us to discuss this month or at this meeting? They kind of get an idea of maybe what fans are feeling or thinking about certain things, because we can't wait for this type of town hall every single year for it to happen, or at tailgates. What were your thoughts on having more of that questionnaire involvement?
I don't know if it necessarily is a questionnaire, but this is something that when we when Tim Sosa was on the board, he took on the role. He was president or VP, but his director spot was VP, but his role within the board was PR.
Mhm.
So he was fielding those questions. All those like almost every contact us form went to him. So then he was relaying that. Now we kind of have it split up by like I guess department the way it was, but now it's all going to that info. So if there's a maybe not the contact, if we change one of the contact forms to like a questions and concerns, with the caveat that this is not if you have an immediate question or if like you got left behind at a road trip, there's different contact. But if there's a question or concern or an idea, like an idea box that like we can set that up and then we can go over those questions or concerns, because a lot of people have the same questions or concerns. A lot of these questions and concerns have probably already been answered. Like
Sure.
like just seeing like when we did the survey before our ownership meeting, a lot of those questions were ones that I have answered in person to people that are on the website. People just don't know where to find them, I guess.
Mhm.
Or maybe they don't know that answer is out there because they've never had that question before last week. Like I know there's a lot of people that know we meet every week, either because they're friends with board members or they play on the same soccer team as board members that then have to, I got to get off, I got to get to the meeting. But like you, just because you don't have that personal connection, you didn't know that we have weekly meetings.
Right. Yeah, I mean, to Valerie's point, right? If you have a question, why not just email at the email or reach out? But at the same time, in the world of social media, when our algorithms are going nuts and our timelines are constantly refreshing, sometimes it's good to have that monthly, like, hey, any questions for us as we have a meeting tomorrow night, kind of thing. I just think it'd be a new way to kind of get that constant interaction and back and forth with people. But again, either if anybody has a comment regarding something we've discussed today, or actually one of the questions that I was looking forward to talking about a little bit tonight was, what are you looking for from the Sons of Ben? Like, we're all here, part of it, and want to make it better, but like, what do you guys actually expect from your supporters group? Do you want them to be as involved as they are now? Do you want it more like the Bridge Brigade, where it's more of a casual, bring your beer, bring your thing? Like, I kind of am curious on I guess, what do people want out of all this? But yeah, go ahead, Ryan. Did you have something to say, or Brady, or?
Oh, I would just say like, so like you're saying, like, what do we want from I guess, like, what do you expect of our members? It's just like I say with the board position, sometimes it's like you're getting out of it what you put into it and what style you want. Maybe you just like doing the tailgates and then you don't sit in the stadium. Maybe you show up right before the game and join in the stadium. You jump into the march. Like, I mean, that's like Adam Booth this year. He runs up right at the end of the tailgate, jumps in the thing, and then depending on who the opposing goalkeeper is, he'll jump on the cable scan to like berate them. But that's like he's kind of stepped back and he's found his comfort zone of what he wants to do with the Sons of Ben and what he wants from the Sons of Ben.
Mm-hmm.
So like you shouldn't be. This isn't, and it's never been. You need to sit in the river and you need to be a season ticket member. You need to be standing and chanting the whole time. If that's what you want to do it. But if you want to hang out with friends before the game or join in on like maybe your goal is just to do as many road trips as you can. Like this is your group and you're putting into it and you're getting out of it what you want. And if you just want to like I don't know, like a cool merch kit and then like a discount tailgate. So, I mean, that's what you're doing that. And you can do that and that's fine. But if you want to be like, you could be second game in and be like, I want to be a capo. Like you find one of our game day directors or Jarrett or any capo, anyone with a badge on a game day, say like, how do I get involved? I think Valerie said it. She walked past our tailgate, saw a sign and said, what is Sons of Ben? Which I'm going to tell McDermott that I told him that the signs were good, the bike rack covers. I don't know, or painting the Sons of Ben really big on the side of the shipping container. I'm trying to guess what year it was. He tried to get me to paint our tents, which told him was not necessary. Yeah, but like that's how I joined. I got season tickets with my family as like a birthday present for my dad in 2009. So 2010 rolls around. I'm sitting in 120, and I'm like I don't know what this is. Like, who are these people? Like, this is great. And I think Ryan Wagner is sat in front of me. Like, so we're just like him and my brother were like just the loud assholes in 120, and eventually I went 121. He went straight to the river end. I eventually was like, oh, these things are cool. I want to join painting. I want to paint one of them. And even then, it took me a while to figure out how to join in and paint one of those.
Hmm.
I think I helped with the Zolo Ram one, and then like I don't know, Brad Coots gave me like 6 magnets, and I got I think then Eric shirts, and I like dug through my car to find extra paintbrushes. And it just like steamrolled from there. So like that's like you just I feel like I'm kind of introverted sometimes, and if you want to be involved at your own comfort level,
Right.
and go forward with that.
I'm gonna shoot. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh,
Finish up. Okay.
I think that's all the points there.
Okay. Awesome. Matt, I see your hand raised. I'll get to you in 1 second. Richard mentions in the comment, "Hi, my name is stickers would be great for new members and visitors." So I think that visibility part of things with new members would go a long way, because I was there too, Ryan, just like you. Like I didn't know what it was. I kind of walked in. I didn't know anybody besides like my friend Jay, who was there, and that was really it. So sometimes I think that can be intimidating for somebody. So if there is an option, hey, if this is your first tailgate, put this on. We'll make sure that somebody speaks to you or reaches out to you or goes around and kind of gets that first interaction, that first conversation. I think that could go a long way. And I think it's an easy enough transition or fix that you guys can try to implement, relatively soon within the first 2025 or the into 2025 season rather. Matt, I want to let you unmute your mic in 1 second. All right, here we go. Oh, wait, I lost you there let me just bring you back up. Matt G, go ahead if you can hear me. Matt.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, Matt Gandazek. I'm the former president that apparently disparaged people on the podcast. So we don't have to get into that. Just a couple things. I think Ryan said this. Some of the board members said it, but just so everyone gets an idea, when I was on the board, whether it was tailgates, marketing, merch, president, it was a minimum 20-hour week between phone calls, meetings with the front office, running out to get stuff to pull a tailgate, trying to get sponsors to get beers. How do you think you get a tailgate for $10 with 6 beers on draft and everything? It just doesn't happen without that kind of effort.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to comments, and Brady, I'll tell you, like you hit the nail on the head. Twitter's not the way to do it, because you're just getting tagged on Twitter and you're like, okay, is this serious? Is this guy just banged up after a game and he's angry and venting? And so what I always told people is, to get results, you need to put some effort in. The board's definitely putting the effort in. There's no doubt about it. Just look at the hours, look at everything that they're doing. If you want something from the board, the info ad is the best way to go. That's, I hate to say it, but that's the grown-up way to do it, because then we know this person's serious. They're putting some effort into it. But if it's 140 characters of like, damn, we should be doing this, it's very hard, especially for people looking at it. I know when I was president, I tried to stay away from Sons of Ben Twitter just because we had other people doing it. And I go, if this is a real issue, we'll talk about it. But there's a lot of effort going on behind the scenes. And then, Mike, you were saying something about your disconnect with Union Yards. Just to let you guys know, that was the original building that was offered to the Sons of Ben.
Okay.
We knew that they were going to develop that. It was part of the plan that we were going to have a piece of property because they wanted to showcase the Sons of Ben, but they also, like in DC, wanted to be able to put a party zone for people that didn't want to go to the Sons of Ben. For as many people that want to hang out at the Sons of Ben and see like, hey, it's a $10 or $20 tailgate, this is great. There's other people that are like, what's this? They'd rather go to a safer space like a Chicky and Pete's or a Union Yards. So that's the purpose, and it's supposed to be a back and forth where people that are in the Sons of Ben are like, let me check out Union Yards. Union Yards people might want to go over and check out Sons of Ben. So it's just supposed to be a communal space. So it was never meant to slight the Sons of Ben building Union Yards. Mm-hmm. But keep in mind, the team is basically giving that land and that space, a very visible space, for little to no rent. So, I mean, it's a working relationship that has to happen. So there really shouldn't be a divide between Sons of Ben or Union Yards. You can easily do both. So there were just a couple of my quick comments on that, just to let everybody know the kind of work that does go into it. And, you know, I think everybody on the board is very approachable, but it's like anything else, just how are you approaching them is the reaction you're going to get.
That's fair. And I know that's been mentioned a few times, the info at, again, that's great that it's being mentioned so many times tonight, because when people watch it again, they'll remember that, hopefully remember that more often. But the reality is not everybody follows those directions and not everybody uses that. And I think, again, I'm only speaking from my personal thing. If I'm adding the Sons of Ben, like at Sons of Ben, or if I'm trying to tweet at them, or I do expect some sort of communication. And if it's not being had, is there a way for more people to be involved with those accounts, or at least pass along the information? Because yes, you know, Tom should say, yeah, I'm going to email info at instead of using this, but that's not always the case. Go ahead.
The narrative will get lost so quick on the comments of social media, and it gets twisted really quickly. Mm-hmm. And then it also gets overtaken by non-members. I mean, just think about this. I thought the meeting that you guys suggested, great idea. But let's look at the participants. We're at 30 right now. I think you're at 37. Yep. By my lazy count, 6 to 7 of those are active board members. You've got 2,000, 2,400 members. So juice squeeze, what's the worth, you know, for people that are already putting 20 hours a week into this? I mean, if your idea, if this is your passion, it's worth that much, the least you could do is an info at email, you know. And I understand people sometimes just want to use Twitter, want to use Facebook, but Ross said sometimes that gets lost. They're not ignoring you, but sometimes it's lost in that. So that's you know, yeah, okay, Jeremy, like a DM reply is better than an at, you know. So right. It's just the effort that you're putting in is going to get the better response. And that's true in life. That's not just the Sons of Ben thing. You know, yeah. If you're looking for a job, you're not just atting somebody on Twitter, go, hey, give me a job. You're going to send an email with a resume.
Absolutely. And Ryan and Brady, I see you guys pop up. I'll shoot you in a second. I have one last question, if you don't mind, Matt.
Yeah.
I think the lack of participation is a very big issue that isn't really being fixed anytime soon. Where do you think the lack of participation comes from? Is it, again, maybe the false perception or the inaccurate perception? Is it because the team's not doing well? Is it something that the members themselves aren't doing? It's consistent every single year. It's almost like a joke now. The election's coming around. I can't wait for all 50 people to vote. At what point does that change? Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
There's always been a silent majority,
mm-hmm.
which gets ignored because people will comment on social media and people will think that's the real issue, where most of the members are, like Valerie, pretty happy with what the organization, meaning the Sons of Ben, not necessarily the union, are doing as a group, that they appreciate the efforts. They're like, hey, I want to come to a game day. I want to have an adult beverage. I want to have a tailgate. I want to go on the river end. I want to sing some silly songs. I want to see the union play. And then I want to get on with my life. I want this escapism. And that's what the Sons of Ben are. So a lot of people are like, hey, I'm good. I don't need to get over involved with everything. And a lot of people are turned off by the aggression on social media, you know, so they're not going to participate. They're like, this isn't worth my mental health, you know, to go through this. So I think that's where a lot of the lack is. And those are the people, when I was president, I would hear from a lot through an email or at the tailgate and be like, hey, I don't know what these guys on Twitter are talking about. Don't worry about it. You get a lot of that. So there is very silent majority that you have to account for when members are yelling for certain things. You're like, is this what every member, like, Ross, you give me a 2,500 or so members right now, something like that, like right around there. So, if you got 45 people yelling at you, you still got 1,932 people that you have to account for that aren't yelling, but still might be upset if you go one way or the other.
Absolutely. Ryan and Brady, I know you got your hands off. And again, Matt, thank you for kind of adding those comments. I really appreciate it. Ryan, I'll let you go. I think your mic's already on.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you're fine.
That's the one thing I want to talk about was the Union Yards. Like I don't see, like Matt said, we actually looked at that building first, and I was all about it because we were going to get this could be a bigger tifo space, to be blunt. Like it was, we wanted that. And then some of the plans changed. We ended up taking over what became 19 Rainy Street because that was available sooner. So, and that was through efforts of Matt, honestly, like that working with them. We do have a formal lease with the union. They bought that building literally for this project, and they're never going to see the money back. If you're interested, you can look up the Zillow for what they bought it for. It's in there. And yeah, we do have a lease with them, and we pay like I think I was talking to the board earlier today. We pay we pay the utilities for that. Like that stuff is in our name. And then the parking lot is its own property. That's 15 Rainy Street. Actually, 15 and 13 are the parking lot. So there's 3 properties that were bought and essentially surrendered to the Sons of Ben, either as a thank you for what you do, and you're front and center. Like literally, like it's if you've ever talked to Tim McDermott, he wants Rainy Street to be like you're walking down that street, and he wants you to see the Sons of Ben and want to be, why am I not joining them? With Union Yards, like there's no direct competition, I think, in terms of the tailgate. Union Yards it's great if you're showing up maybe like an hour before the game, you just want a burger and some beer or something like that, like a beer or two. But if you're going to be there the whole tailgate, you might as well come to our thing. And the people that I think people have realized that if you're waiting in line to get into Union Yards, why aren't you over 4 hot dogs and 2 beers deep at our tailgate with, frankly, better music in my opinion. But and then afterwards your coin, speaking of the coins, you get $2 off draft beers no matter what at Union Yards post match. Yeah, that's Ravens Walk is what Tim McDermott is constantly talking about.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know, he comes from a bit of a more football background. Yeah, so he thinks a lot of things in terms of like NFL saves. His brother's the coach for the Bills. If no one has put that together, they look pretty much identical, really. I think I forget if there was another part that Matt, what was Matt speaking to at the end there? I forget what that was.
I kind of have a question actually, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah.
Again, I'm thinking about the participation. I think both of you make up a good point with it. You also mentioned earlier that the front office aren't as, I want to say, maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, so correct me please if I'm wrong, and aren't as approachable. They don't have that same open communication as you once had. Is that correct with the front office, with the Sons of Ben?
No, I think it's more of it's actually become more informal. It's not a formal meeting. It used to be, we used to have an intern come and meet us at the gate, and we would have to have our who's setting up TIFO sent 2 days in advance, and then we'd have to get the intern to get that to go get the keys. Like they've given us I've taken over so many parts of the stadium. I've been like, hey, I'm just leaving banners up.
Right.
Like, deal with it, guys. I think Andrew, or it might be Kyle, one of them, they put together the badge list, and they get the badges, and that's done. Like, it's not this whole big like song. Kyle does whole big like song and dance that it used to be. Like, so there's trust from the front office, and I think there could be a possibility of too much like maybe we got a little lax in how formal things are. So maybe some new board members didn't know it was that easy to just be like, hey, here's this. Like, I mean, the number of times, speaking of people just showing up at tailgates, like Tim Murphy from the stadium, and Brian from Oakview Group, technically, I think they come by this, and Tim Murphy and Tim McDermott come by the tailgate. They'll ask me questions. Brian will come picking things up. And I think Bourne one time said like, "Oh, great, what's wrong now? What's the front office guy? What's the problem?" I was like, "Oh, he was just coming to grab the flags so they could hang them up for me." Like, but it was just so informal that they'll just text me, "Hey, like, we got this," or I can, "Hey, at the last night's international match, there was a glass plate in our lot. Can you guys come clean it up?" And it's a text instead of a calling all these people. Like, at that point, I've kind of taken Kyle and Andrew under my wing in terms of the TIFO stuff. I'm like, hey, this is Elijah. He's housekeeping. This, like, here's like Marty was like the guy to go to. Like,
So then,
there's people in this group that we kind of skirted around the formal meetings a little bit. So I think some new members might have they might miss out on that connection, or don't know that we have that connection. No new board members, I mean, not new Sons of Ben members.
so it's leading me to my point here. Basically, I look at other supporter sections. I look at other fans. I don't believe that Cincinnati is a better fan base than Philadelphia. I don't believe that even Columbus is a better fan base than Philadelphia. We have passionate fans. Look at Eagles games. They could be 3-10, and you're still going to have almost a sold out link. The point I was asking for that was, does it feel like maybe the union themselves don't promote the Sons of Ben enough? Whereas you guys have to basically promote everything yourselves. Whereas I would love to walk into the union shop and see Sons of Ben gear. I would love for the union page to put on Twitter, hey, if you don't go to Union Yards, check out Sons of Ben. Here's a present, Ryan, if you want. Like, I just feel like there's not sometimes that collaboration. Maybe that's a better word for it. As open as public, because you're getting text, that's great, but we don't see it as fans. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mike, I don't know if this is Bourne or Mike Thomas. I'm just taking a shot. I don't know what Mike said that, but I agree with that. I think we've pulled back. They want to, and Matt will tell you. There you go. The number of times we've turned around to the union, be like, you can't use the Jolly Franklin. Like, I went around the stadium one day, and I tore it out. Like, they used our logo without our permission in marketing. And I was like, yo, Matt, you cool if I just tear these off the wall? And he's like, go for it. That's bullshit that they did that without checking. They like our branding, and they want to use it, and they want to use us as a marketing tool. And different parts of the front office want to use us purely as marketing tools. Some people get what it means to be a supporter, and some just see this free marketing, and you really got to skirt that line. And in terms of that, like, I don't want to paint the union in a bad light. There's there's very predatory front offices out there, and of them trademarking the supporter troops' names and stuff like that. Like, we're nowhere near that, but we got to draw the line somewhere in terms of how hand in hand we go with them. We years ago, when when it was required to be a Sons of Ben to get season tickets, or even to sit in the river, have access to buy a ticket in River End, to judge season tickets, they took on the front office took on the responsibility of collecting collecting membership dues, and then sending it out, and then they'd have to cut us checks, or developed a slush fund that then we bought stuff out of. But that aspect, that was, like, it helped us for a little bit, but it got very, I think a lot of people lost the fact that they had to renew because there is now part of their season ticket price in their minds. And we lost a lot of people that way. Like a lot of founding members, it's like, I don't think we could ever, like, we should or could ever go back to something like that, because that's just that's too close. We need to, like, I get told a lot, like, I have to tell the front office no a lot, and they tell me no a lot on things I want to do. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. But I tell them no a lot on, hey, can we use this media? Hey, cool, like, can we do this? You'll see it then, like, you'll notice, oh, there's a Sons of Ben flag in this schedule release, because that's how they get the Jelly Franklin in there. Like, I've even had to tell them, like, let's stop, like, oh, can we put this on the branding? I was like, let's not, because then I know you're going to take a picture of it and skirt around it that way. So they just like that branding, and they want to use that to get more of us there, but in a way that could be, if we don't curb it, it can be very predatory.
Yeah, Justin mentions that slippery slope there that could come from all that. Again, I'm not saying my idea is a good idea. I'm just saying I'm kind of curious about why there's not that. Matt, I see your hand up as well. I'm curious to have your thoughts on that too. Go ahead, Matt.
Sorry. Okay.
You're fine.
Ross said it right before I could. And Mike was saying, there's a symbiotic relationship. I used to describe it as a partnership. We've got two separate organizations that have the same goal, which is the success of the Philadelphia Union. But we go about it two different ways. We can't buy players, we can't do this, but we want to support that team to get to that goal. But I will tell you, I probably hold the record of saying no to Tim McDermott more than his own wife. But that's the relationship that you have to have. They want a lot of things from us. When I first became president, they wanted us to get 20 people to jump around like fools at an Acme opening. I'm like, no, we're not here as your trained monkeys to do this kind of stuff. But then we also need and want things from the team, smoke. We need their permission to bring that kind of stuff in. So it is a constant relationship. And not everybody, whether it's podcasters now that I do, or general members, or even every board member, will know what the deal was between. Just in business, that's just the way it's going to be. There's going to be a couple things that, we agree with Tim or Doug or one of the owners to do something, it's to get that. Now, I know a lot of people go, oh, you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. It really isn't that, because they don't feed us. We don't get money from them anymore. That was something way in the past. They need us as much as we need them, but it's got to be a working relationship. It's got to be almost a marriage. So you can't sit there and every day fight with your spouse and think you're going to have a happy life. So that's kind of where I think people need to understand, it's not 1980s English hooliganism where we come with pitchforks and storm the gate. There's adults in the room that want to get shit done because we've got that same goal of making this as successful as possible.
All right, Matt, I have a question then for you because of that comment. So you mentioned the hand that feeds you. I think the perception to some fans, whether right or wrong, is the fact that during the ownership meeting that the Sons of Ben had, and when the protest was going on, and when they stopped protesting, it was in a way perceived that the Sons of Ben were kind of just bending the knee to ownership and to the front office. You're bringing the other side of things where it's a collaboration, you guys work together. I guess from your experience, is that perception accurate? Can you want to talk about the perception? How do you feel like that whole thing went down this year? That's been a very hot topic because a lot of people filled the survey out and they felt like the survey wasn't listened to or represented properly.
Yeah, I mean, and this isn't a secret. Ryan will tell you, and Bill and I, or Bob, and I mean, I didn't think that protest was a good idea because they were already going to protest Leagues Cup. So, and there were ways of talking to the ownership group about fans' concerns. And let's face it, it's Philadelphia sports, not even halfway through the year, and people were looking for protests where you're like, a little early. You got to wait the season out to see. So for me, I didn't think there should have been a protest. If I was president, I probably would have done everything I could not to have that protest, knowing that you were going to protest Leagues Cup. I think the Leagues Cup protest and that protest kind of washed each other away. You did get a meeting with two of the chief owners, and the coach and the GM. Name any other Philadelphia sports team that would have done that. Name another MLS team that would have done that. So the Sons of Ben brought them to the table in front of all the fans. So to me, that's a win. Did you get the answers you wanted? No, but are you going to get the answers from Jeffrey Lurie? Hell no, you're not going to. He's not even going to listen to you. So the protest and the outreach from the Sons of Ben got the attention of the ownership and got you exactly what everybody wanted. It got them to the table to talk. You didn't get the answers you wanted. That's life. I don't know what else to tell you. But I mean, the protest, for all intents and purposes, got the attention. And that's what a protest is supposed to do, get the attention of the people in power.
Absolutely. Ryan, did you want to comment on that too? Just because
Oh,
you're obviously
sorry.
most involved with that. Go ahead.
I was Borton. I do actually both mics now. Has said like the protest got blurred, and we had the talk of the protest for the results of the team. We tried delaying that because we knew of in advance of the kidney donor story that was being shared. So one of the target dates for that would have been that date, and that would have been, I think, terrible optics to talk about how this is great supporter culture that we have a member that gave a kidney to another member because of a post that we shared or of a call for a need for organ donor for. And then we turned around and we're skipping out in the game. We're just not showing up. So we delayed it, and it did start to butt up against the Leagues Cup, which had been planned since February.
Mm-hmm.
We were hoping that through efforts with ISC that the ISC groups would kind of put a target window on, hey, maybe MLS will change their tune. We have 60 days. I think the Sons of Ben kicked off that 60-day countdown, and it was not met. And then when the protest actually went out in full, that the league kind of thought we'd balk on, I think St. Louis's front office turned around and kind of put up a big stink with the league, and we got supporter groups meeting with the league and U.S. Soccer to talk about how we have to have the U.S. Open Cup and Leagues Cup coexist and in a full involvement. There's obviously and that conversation is far from done. I'm hoping we get more of that done at ISC this year, but because they kind of sprung it on us late last year, like the league, the MLS sprung it on us late. So we and then it was actually in our meeting with the SOB leadership. I say leadership because it was board members, and we had our head capo there because he was kind of the voice of the. He was seen. Jared was being very vocal and was seen as the voice of the capos and some of the the game day crowd. We met with Jay Sugarman, Richard Leibovich, Tim McDermott, Ernst Tanner, and Mark Evans. I hope everyone read the notes and the detailed notes and all that. We at the end of that meeting, we were like already an hour and a half over, and then they were like, "Oh, anything else?" I'm like, "By the way, guys, 2 games from now, we're doing a protest of Leagues Cup." I mentioned to Mark months ago. I had mentioned it to Jim and the players months in advance, and then we talked for another hour and a half. I think Rachel and Andrew can probably confirm how long we then talked about that. The front office was kind of like, well, if you're going to do this, just make sure it's that the league knows it's about them and not us. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was pretty direct with we want the cup, the U.S. Open Cup, TIFO, that the league ended up letting hang the whole time. And that was through efforts of security and MLS security and our security backing the supporters and saying that, yeah, if they want to say that, they can definitely say that. And that's like Jeff Stonebreaker and Stephen Cross, like in the league, have the supporters' backs on that, and they represent a lot of interest for us and put pressure on the league to attend league reps to attend ISCs so we can kind of directly yell at the league when we need to.
Do you feel
So,
like,
yeah.
I mean, obviously right now you're providing a lot of great information, things that maybe some of us were not familiar with or were aware of. Do you feel like as the season was going on, there was a sense of we cannot say anything right now because things are currently ongoing?
I feel like just the call for the that we had planned a protest since March. I think when the tickets came, hey, you want to buy these ticket things? The capos were all saying, hey, we're opting out.
Mm-hmm.
And that started it. So we were like, and at that point, we were still undefeated. So we had no clue that this was going to the year that happened. So then it was kind of a scramble of how do we balance these two things if we do move to protest. And it was, I talked with some members of Empire from Red Bull, Steve there. They have a policy in place. This started with through ISC communication with New England was wanting. They were ready to protest their ownership right off the jump this year, and probably correctly so, given their track record in terms of hiring coaches and players, and just spending. They Steve shared their protest policy that they put in place when Red Bull took over Metro Stars. And then that is if you want a formal, fully backed protest by the supporters group, you have to have one member propose it, petition it, get X number of people to do it, and then it goes to a formal vote where the response has to be above a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
And that metric would never be met in our it was you need at least 40% of the issued ballots to be returned, and we hover at 30 at best in these elections. I'm hoping these elections see more involvement, and it seems like they will, just the number of people talking about them. So that is something that we kind of started doing and wanted to raise for the more of an off-season project to kind of codify what these not the rules, but due processes are for what becomes a formal protest. In that, even the Leagues Cup protest was a capo and capo pool drummer corps driven protest that, as the board, we supported. We weren't saying, "Hey, no Sons of Ben," or "If you're Sons of Ben, don't go to these fucking games." We didn't do that because that wasn't our position. We couldn't speak for the membership in that sense without asking the membership if they felt that way. But our capos, our dedicated volunteers, said, "We're not showing up for this shit. It's cut and dry." They all came to us with that. I think there were some capos that disagreed with that statement, and they left. Just because they felt that they didn't want to be back with that. So we kind of did that, took it off the thing and say we will not have so it was our capos and our game day volunteers they were formally protesting. So we kind of, and then we did hey, we're not going to put scrubs out there. And I'm not going to sit there and try to field capos to fill your space, or I'm personally not going to put TIFO up to pretend to undercut those fans' voices. But at the same time, I was there singing. Tommy Rowe, one of the original 6, he was there and he was leading the chants. So there were still voices of they were the back the team no matter what. So we were individuals were still supporting the teams. A lot of the capos were still there, just not on the stand. And I know a lot of people didn't see it that way, and we were trying to correct that as much as we could
Yeah.
throughout the course of events. And it's just like it's like it would crop up any comment section. It would just be there, and then I or someone other, I think like me, Andrew, Rachel, Jared would say, "No, this is why. This is what happened. This is what we're doing."
It
And
felt
we put out a formal statement too. It's just to the point where the front office is like, "Why are you putting out so many statements?" Like, it's like, well, a statement is a statement. We gotta. It's a news thing. We have to say it.
I feel like at the time that it happened, because your point, we started the year was undefeated with the last undefeated team in MLS. It didn't feel like a protesting season, and then suddenly out of nowhere, we're a laughing stock in the MLS, and it just kind of spiraled. I think all the events that occurred, from the protests to the meeting to the survey to the minutes being produced, it happened really quickly, and I think that there was a lot of miscommunication, and at the same time a lot of passionate fans on both sides, both board, committee, and non-members, etc., kind of just going at it. And I think that's where a lot of the division started, for me personally, for other people. And again, I know I was a vocal part of, hey, I don't like this protest. I think it was not a good protest. And then I probably didn't make any of your jobs easier, so I apologize for that. But I was passionate about it too, and I wanted more things to be done, and I felt like there was that miscommunication. So hearing you now say some more and giving that more detail makes me feel a little better. It's like, okay, like there's a reasonable answer to this. There's certain things that were in place that I wasn't aware of, that kind of thing. So I can imagine, from being in that yourself, Ryan, and everybody else that's on the board, how hectic that must have been, and trying to make the right decision and trying to listen to everybody's opinions. And again, not everybody's opinions can be put into place. Not everybody's opinions necessarily are reasonable, but again, the perception, I think, started changing through all that chaos. Go ahead if you want.
Yeah, I mean, just real quick to like what Mike said, talk about how everything's widely, like, very widely split.
Mm-hmm.
The help wanted TIFO. We had talked about that. We had a capo and like involvement meeting, and that's what Matt was there. We talked it like it was, are we going to protest? What will it be like? And I asked Matt to kind of leak that happens to the front office through Richard. And he was kind of like, oh, guys, we should do this. Like, well, I'll meet with them. And then when it came time for our protest that day, I was getting, as soon as we said we were protesting, and that's why we waited, because I knew this was going to happen. I was getting texts and calls throughout the day saying, like, why are you guys doing this? You shouldn't, like, just stop. Let's talk. Like, it's like, no, if this ball's rolling, it's rolling.
Mm-hmm.
We could talk after this week. And then the point of the TIFO came up. It would have been the first protest TIFO inside the stadium ever.
Mm-hmm.
Many of you remember the march in with the "We Just Union Fans Deserve Better," which was the point taken when I was painting that. I was talking with Kenny. It originally said "We deserve better," and we're like, we have to say something different so it doesn't sound like Sons of Ben or the We. So it was Union Fans Deserve Better. The coffin portion was not part of that. Like that wasn't Sons of Ben. That was individual who I know who it was. People in the know who it was. Like, that's still private. Again, Mike Thomas just brought up the Nick Reaper one. That wasn't Sons of Ben. Again, a lot of us know where it came from, who brought it in, and Sons of Ben got in trouble for it. Evans and I got in a very heated discussion in that game about it. And then in trying to give up who it was. So that was, again, like, if you want to do that, you do it. We're going to support you. Like, we're going to support your voice as the Sons of Ben member, and like protect your rights as a supporter. Same thing with KSU's demonstration there. It's a little different because they're not, I don't know if those people are Sons of Ben members that were involved in that necessarily. So, but as a supporter, they have rights. But if they're not a Sons of Ben member, like, sometimes we have the Sons of Ben themselves have a less support and protection and ability to fight for them in that sense. We had that big one. It was 40 by 50 feet. Kelsey and I spent our 4th of July weekend painting that. When I believe KSU got spotted hacking theirs up, I got a text saying, hey, remember, we need to see all TIFO before it goes up, which is a league rule. And it's been a league rule. I kind of skirt around it based on the fact that the front office has trusted me for so many years and the fact that I paint often through the tailgates. So I can kind of get around that rule, and they just trust me to do it. So this was him coming to me saying, like, if you painted something, like we're putting this rule out there to reinforce it. That way, if something needs to be reinforced, we set it officially. And I said, hey, by the way, I did paint that Help Wanted banner that I told you about 2 weeks ago. And he goes, I thought we weren't doing that. I was like, well, you told me you said it was a stupid idea. To be blunt, he tells me that about, Evans tells me that about a lot of my ideas. And I do them, but he could be like, so it was like a fair thing. And then it's like, okay, I pushed and pushed, and it kind of got brought up way up the ladder in terms of, if we bring this in, are we gonna get in trouble? And trying to gauge what kind of trouble that was. The margins started. I agree. It was pretty overall soft, to be blunt. Like, it was like what Mike just said. Like, it was. So I thought it was like right in there, a little tongue in cheek. Like, it wasn't saying like now we put it up, it would obviously like be misinterpreted to be about Jim. But like, we were
Right.
again. I texted the pictures of that to Jim and Ollie. Like, they knew it. They kind of, I don't know if they expected to see it or if they just thought they missed it in the end. But it was there, and and then it became, well, what could we lose? And it was a real quick board vote over, do we push it? And because this is now not me personally doing it, because of the size it was and the fact that it, like, I guess the resources that went into it, it's going to be obvious that this is the Sons of Ben. It's not just me, Ryan Bross, speaking. It's the Sons of Ben speaking.
Right.
So we kind of put a quick vote, and we were literally split down the middle. I ran around the tailgate. I think I was bugging Justin when he was trying to take down the beer tables. I was calling Andrew, who was already in the stadium, setting up the railing banners. Like, it was, I think John and Rachel were jumping into the march, and we literally went down 50-50 whether or not to do it, bring it into the stadium. So the compromise was to unfold it and leave it in the lot. And even if at that point we wanted to bring it in, it kind of melted together in the heat and would have been kind of a nightmare to actually get deployed at that point in time. But that was, that it fell off a bit. It obviously didn't have the impact that it was intended to, but in doing that, saying like, hey, if I'll agree to leave this outside, like, after we board vote it, and like, then I use that as leverage to be like, yo, we need give me a date. Otherwise, I'm bringing this in on a dolly. Like, give me a confirmed date that we're doing this. And let me tell my members that we're doing it. Like, give me a confirmed date, possibly time. Give me a head count of who's there, like what we're doing. Because if I'm putting this aside, you're asking me to put something aside that we worked on. Two of us spent hours working on, and our holiday weekend working on. So there's that personal edge to it, and the fact that we're now stepping back kind of what our plans were. And it was, if you want me to give you slack on this portion, then you need to agree right now to meet with us. And it was phone calls. I think I got told like right before the national anthem that, yeah, we have a time. Because otherwise I was entertaining, subscribing to the cart, going out half, bringing it in. Like, if there was like Like we'll say, like we'll see, like there's always, I don't want to be like say like pessimistic, but there's always escalations in place, I
Mhm.
think. And either like worst case scenarios, escalation, stuff like that, that I've kind of planned or have told people to plan.
I think again, a lot of people are saying at that time, not now, I'm saying at the time. And also Adam Booth, I saw you raise your hand. If you want to speak, I would love to have you on, Adam. So if you want to raise your hand again, feel free to do so and I'll unmute you. Brady, I know I have you. I'm gonna skip you if Adam joins and then get back to you. But I think Ryan, at the time, it's you're an angry fan base and you want to see something done. And you want to say, like, to hell with the front office, to hell if you guys get in trouble. This is our team. We're the ones who created this team. Bring the banner in, bring all that stuff in. And when there was that frustration, when there was that anger, some fans, including myself, didn't feel like there was any reasoning behind it. It was more so, well, we just didn't do it. So I appreciate you showing the other side of things because again, will everybody agree with you that you did the right thing and that the Sons of Ben did the right thing? No, of course not. You're not gonna make everybody happy. But that's not the point of it. The point of it is to share both sides of the story, which again is the whole point of me doing this, is to have you and Matt and whoever else wants to talk from the board to voice some explanation or some thought process behind it, because I think it goes a long way um, to help repairing that disconnect if there is any, and just preparing for the next year. So again, Adam, I don't know if you want to join. I can unmute. There you go. Perfect. I'll bring you on right now, Adam, and you should be able to take the floor here.
Oh, first time, long time. How are you guys doing?
Hey, Adam, how you doing, man?
Fantastic. I'm outside, so if a random bus goes by, I apologize. But basically, you know, a lot of my theme was kind of taken out after the last couple of minutes because I just think Ross really explained it. It's, you know, I think over the years, if there was anything that was perceived as like a kickback that any of us got, I probably got them as much as anyone else, to the point where they employed me to talk video games for them. I will add, not well, and they did fire me for asking for more money. So, um, I'm not a person. So when people, so like I say this, so when people think I might be, you know, beholden to the front office when I say the following things, I'm not. These are my honest to goodness thoughts. Um, I think like how complex all of this is not appreciated. You know, I think especially in the modern times, how many elements goes into being a modern supporters group, how many elements goes into being a supporters group that is done by people who have day jobs, people who have kids, people who have mortgages and everything in between. Like I literally had to take back my being capo because I was getting married and now I have a son on the way. So I got no time for that, as much as I'm wanting to be the person that I was once upon a time ago, and it hurts me. But what really broke my heart about a lot of this was I think a lot of trust that should have been there was broken between people, and I just didn't understand deep down why. You know, I think we should have all given a lot more benefit of the doubt to ourselves here in terms of what the front office was trying to do on both sides to what the Sons of Ben were trying to do, because, you know, deep down, we will hold their feet to the fire as hard as anyone. And I know this because I've been doing it. You know, I'm the person who, yes, do I have the phone number of the owner in my phone? Yes. And do I text them all the time about roster moves and things that I probably shouldn't? Also, yes, because I think it's important that he understands that there is a fever. You know, I work for a sports team where I have to talk to my own owners and tell them, hello, we have to do things. We have to make things happen, because a lot of these people in these positions don't see it from our perspective. So ultimately, I think moving forward, we're going to be okay, because I think a lot of us understand what this is. And I think really, if we get back to some winning soccer, that's going to do a lot for us anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I just really hope that we all kind of take this moment and understand that there's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot that goes into being a capo, to being a board member, to even being the people that serve you beer on Sundays and Saturdays. There's just so many elements. There's so many people. We're all exhausted. I still got PTSD from 2022. I can't watch a soccer game that doesn't end until the final whistle because I just believe Gareth Bale is going to jump out of nowhere and score a goal on me. So I just think, it's something where I really hope we grow from this, is really my core of this. I really hope we all take a moment and understand that, and from the fans' perspective, I hear you and I hear about the lack of transparency, and that's real. And that's really real. And you should have heard more, and you should have been privy to more, and your voices should be heard more. 100% on board with that. But I think it's a give and take in this road. I think it's a two-way street with this. And I think, having moments like these, having conversations like these, and having Bross out here, having Matt out here, having people who've done it, like Matt and Bross have done more for this group than any two people I know, period.
Mhm.
The amount of effort I've seen Mr. Gandazik do on a Sunday morning just to make sure we had food in the tailgate lot, the amount of times I've seen Bross spend days in Chester painting tifos. Like, I know these people care about this team more than any other people I know. So when I hear them, when they tell me what's going on, I tend to believe what they're saying to me, So that's really all I had to say.
Absolutely. Well, Adam, congrats, by the way, on your almost, like you said, you're expecting a child. So
Yeah, right before the season too. So you might see me with a baby Bjorn in the river end. It's gonna be fun.
that's awesome. Congratulations. Um, I know it's 10:15. I know everybody's been up and sticking with us. I really appreciate it. I think to Adam's point, what he mentioned was the two-way street. This does need to be two-way street, and there doesn't need to be transparency, but there's also needs to be participation as well. So I hope that from this meeting, at least the biggest takeaway is that. At the same time, we talked about this earlier in the meeting. There is almost a changing of the guard. There are a new generation, a younger generation of members, and I think them being told stories from Ryan and Matt and Adam, hey, we aren't just here for a social club. We're here and we're putting in a lot of effort and stuff. I think that does go a long way too. And I think it reminds them and shows them like, this isn't just something we do for free entry to a game. We do it because we're really devoted and passionate. So again, I appreciate the three of you joining, because to be honest with you, when I started this town hall, I was like, okay, I don't know if anybody from the board's going to be on. This can very much just be a bitch fest, which I didn't want it to be, but it could have easily gone to that. So to have you three and Robert as well, I know you spoke for a bit as well, and it helps me out a lot in terms of helping running this, but also actually making it productive overall. I think that's the most important thing I wanted this. I wanted to say, here's a YouTube video. We're going to put it online. The board can rewatch it, think of ideas and whatnot, and at least something productive can come out of it, because we're all supporting the club. That's all we're here to do. It's not to do anything else but support the union. And as Adam said, if they win, it makes this a lot easier. So if anybody else has any final things they want to say, please raise your hand now. Brady, I mean, if you want to kind of add a finishing touch before we do that, go ahead. And otherwise we can kind of call it a night pretty soon.
No, I'll piggyback to you, Mike. This didn't turn into, like we were talking about, and we're not going to let it turn into the bitch fest that, is the cesspool of social media. Nobody needs that. Nobody wants that. And it didn't. And, I applaud everybody, and I appreciate, me personally, one of my biggest things is communication and transparency. And while I feel like there's still a long way to go, Bross, you brought it tonight. And I think that's huge. Right. And Matt, and bringing the backstory, understanding. I'll argue with you that the adult thing nowadays might be us old heads trying to remember that email isn't the way to go, but that's another thing. But yeah, no, and I appreciate you, Mike, and I know it's been a long sort of journey to get to this point. Been with you part of the way. I know it's not been easy. I know it's not been fun, but I think if these things continue to happen, and to Adam's point, we continue to have fun with it, I think we're gonna be fine.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, again, it's 10:20. I appreciate everybody joining us and sticking around. I recorded this whole thing. I will be downloading it and posting it to probably the AAT Sports YouTube as well as my own YouTube. So there'll be a couple of avenues to get it from. If you all want to do a second one, comment, let me know, message me, find me at the tailgates, whatever you want to do. I'm not opposed to it at all. there's so many topics we can talk about. I mean, for me, again, as a Hispanic male, I would love Hispanic growth in Sons of Ben, and that can be a whole topic in itself, a whole episode and stuff. So there's a lot to talk about. I get it. I could be here to 2 o'clock discussing. But again, I'm going to end the meeting in a second. Thank you all for joining us. And if you want to DM me directly on Twitter, it's mbarrera1323. Facebook, it's Miguel Reyes on Facebook. You can find me on all the things. I also have a Blue Sky now, like everybody else. So find me on there as well, mbarrera1323. And again, thank you, Go Union, and I appreciate everybody joining us. Good night, everybody.